Welcome. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most important stories in history. It is the story of Napoleon and his wars. Napoleon was a soldier, a leader, and an emperor. He changed Europe forever. We will look at how his wars spread two big ideas across Europe. Those ideas are liberalism and nationalism. Liberalism means people should have rights and freedom. Nationalism means people feel proud of their country and want to be free as a nation. These two ideas started small, but they grew very big because of Napoleon. Let us begin.
I am very excited to learn about this. I know Napoleon was a famous leader, but I did not know he changed so many things.
Yes, he changed almost everything in Europe. And by the end, you will understand why people still talk about him today. Let us start from the very beginning.
So where did Napoleon come from?
Napoleon was born on the island of Corsica in 1769. Corsica is a small island in the Mediterranean Sea. He was not from a rich or powerful family, but he was very smart, and he was very good at math. Because of this, he went to a military school in France.
So he was good at fighting from a young age?
Yes, he learned military strategy very early. Strategy means how to plan a battle. When the French Revolution started in 1789, France was in chaos. The old king and queen lost their power. Many people were angry and fighting each other. Napoleon saw this as a chance.
How did he use that chance?
He showed his talent in a battle called the Siege of Toulon in 1793. Toulon was a city in France. British soldiers were helping French royalists there. Napoleon made a smart plan to use cannons on a hill. This plan worked, and France won the city back. After that, everyone knew his name.
And then he went to Italy, right?
That is right. In 1796, Napoleon led the French army into Italy. The army was tired and had very little food or money, but Napoleon gave the soldiers hope. He told them they could win, and they did. They won many battles against Austria. This made Napoleon very famous all over Europe.
People really loved him then?
Yes, common people loved him because he was not from a royal family. He was one of them. He rose up because of his talent, not because of his family name. This gave hope to many ordinary people.
And then he became emperor?
Yes, in 1804. It was a very interesting moment. In the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, the Pope came to give Napoleon his crown. But Napoleon took the crown from the Pope and put it on his own head. This was a very strong message. He was saying that he did not need God or the Church to give him power. He had power because of himself and the people.
Wow, that is a very bold thing to do.
It was. And it showed everyone what kind of leader Napoleon was. He came from the revolution, but now he was an emperor. The red flags of the revolution became the golden eagle of the empire.
So he was like a symbol of change?
Exactly. He was a new kind of leader for a new kind of world.
You said Napoleon spread ideas across Europe. What kind of ideas?
One of the most important things Napoleon did was create a new set of laws. We call it the Napoleonic Code. He made this in 1804. It was a complete system of laws for modern life.
What was so special about these laws?
Before Napoleon, most of Europe had feudal laws. Feudal means the old system, where kings, nobles, and the church had all the power. Common people had very few rights, but the Napoleonic Code changed that. It said that all men are equal before the law. It did not matter if you were born into a noble family or a poor family. The law was the same for everyone.
That sounds very fair.
It was a big step forward. The code also said people had the right to choose their own religion. Before this, the church had a lot of control over people. If you did not follow the official religion, you could be punished. Napoleon said, no, you can believe what you want.
And what about property?
Yes, the code protected private property. This means if you own something, the government or a noble cannot just take it from you. This was very important for farmers and small business owners. It gave them security.
So Napoleon carried these laws into other countries.
That is a good way to think about it. When Napoleon conquered a country, he brought these laws with him. In some places, people welcomed this because it ended the power of local nobles and gave ordinary people more rights.
But did everyone like it?
Not everyone. Some people did not like being controlled by France. But even those people often kept the Napoleonic Code after Napoleon was gone. That shows how powerful these ideas were. The laws were better than what they had before.
So even his enemies used his laws?
Yes, many countries in Europe, Latin America, and other parts of the world still use laws based on the Napoleonic Code today. It is one of his most lasting achievements.
I did not know that. I thought Napoleon was just about winning wars.
That is what many people think at first. But his ideas changed the world just as much as his armies did.
So Napoleon had a powerful army. How big was it?
At its peak, the Grande Armée, which means the Great Army, had more than 600,000 soldiers. It was the largest army Europe had ever seen. Soldiers came not just from France, but from many countries that Napoleon controlled.
That is a very large number. How did he keep such a big army working well?
Napoleon was a genius at organizing his army. He divided it into smaller groups called corps. Each corps could move independently and fight on its own, but they could also come together quickly when needed. This made the army very fast and flexible.
And his tactics were different too, right?
Yes, most armies at that time moved slowly and followed very rigid rules. Napoleon moved fast. He believed in speed and surprise. He would often divide the enemy army and attack one part before the other part could help. This confused the enemy and led to quick victories.
Can you give an example of a big battle?
The best example is the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. Many historians call it Napoleon's greatest victory. He was fighting against Austria and Russia at the same time. The enemy army was actually bigger than his, but Napoleon pretended to be weak on his right side. The enemy moved their soldiers there to attack. Then Napoleon struck hard in the center, splitting the enemy army in two. It was over in one day.
He tricked them.
Exactly. He used their confidence against them. After Austerlitz, the Holy Roman Empire collapsed. This was a very old empire that had existed for about 1,000 years. Napoleon ended it just like that.
What happened to the kings and rulers of Europe?
Many of them lost their thrones. Napoleon redrew the map of Europe. He put his brothers and friends in charge of many kingdoms. He created new kingdoms like the Kingdom of Westphalia and the Kingdom of Naples. The old royal families were terrified.
So the old system of kings and nobles was falling apart?
Yes, the Ancien Regime, which means the old order, was breaking down everywhere Napoleon went. Kings who had ruled for centuries suddenly found themselves powerless. It was a completely new world.
And ordinary people, how did they feel?
Many ordinary people were excited at first. Napoleon brought new laws and new ideas. Feudal duties were abolished in many places. People did not have to pay taxes to local nobles anymore. They had more freedom than before.
But something changed later, right?
Yes, as Napoleon kept demanding more soldiers and more money for his wars, people became tired. The excitement faded, and something else was growing. The people were starting to feel something new. They were starting to feel that they belonged to a nation, not to a king, not to an empire, but to their own people and their own land.
And that feeling became a problem for Napoleon?
A very big problem. That is exactly what we will look at next.
So Napoleon spread the ideas of freedom and rights, but those same ideas turned against him?
That is exactly right. Napoleon taught people about liberty and the rights of nations, but then he conquered those same nations and controlled them. People thought, if liberty is good for France, why is it not good for us? This contradiction made people very angry.
Where did the resistance start first?
Spain is a very important example. In 1808, Napoleon forced the Spanish king to give up his throne. He put his own brother Joseph on the Spanish throne. The Spanish people did not accept this. They started a long and brutal resistance.
What kind of resistance?
It was a guerrilla war. Guerrilla means small groups of fighters attacking and then disappearing. The Spanish fighters did not fight Napoleon in big open battles. They attacked supply lines, killed soldiers at night, and hid in the mountains. The French army could not defeat an enemy they could not find.
I think I have seen a painting about this.
You are probably thinking of the painting by Francisco Goya called The 3rd of May, 1808. It shows French soldiers shooting Spanish civilians. It is a very powerful image of ordinary people standing against a powerful army. Goya showed the reality of war without any glory.
That must have been terrible for the people.
It was. Napoleon himself called the war in Spain his wound that never healed. It drained French resources for years. But Spain was not the only place resisting.
What about other countries?
Prussia is another important case. Prussia is in the area we now call Germany. After Napoleon defeated Prussia badly in 1806, Prussian leaders did not give up. Instead, they reformed their army and their government. They studied Napoleon and learned from him. They built a new kind of army based on educated soldiers and professional officers.
So they used Napoleon's own ideas against him?
Precisely. And they also began to build a sense of national identity. Thinkers and writers in Prussia started saying that German people had a common language, a common culture, and a common destiny. This was the beginning of German nationalism.
And then there was Russia.
Russia was Napoleon's greatest disaster. In 1812, he invaded Russia with nearly 600,000 soldiers. But the Russians had a very different strategy. They did not fight big battles. They retreated deeper and deeper into their land. They burned their own villages and farms so the French army could not find food.
That is a very extreme thing to do.
It was. And the Russian winter made everything worse. Napoleon reached Moscow, but the city was empty and on fire. He had no food, no shelter, and no enemy to fight. He had to turn back. On the long march home, soldiers died from cold and hunger. Of 600,000 soldiers, only about 100,000 returned.
That is a terrible loss.
It was the beginning of the end. After Russia, the nations of Europe united against Napoleon. Austria, Prussia, Russia, and Britain all fought together. They defeated his army in Germany in 1813, and the following year, Napoleon was forced to give up his throne.
So the very nationalism he inspired helped destroy him?
Yes, he gave people the idea that a nation has the right to be free and to rule itself. And those people used that idea to fight back against him. It was like a weapon that turned around and hit the person who made it.
That is a very interesting lesson.
It is one of the most important lessons of this whole story.
So Napoleon lost. What happened to him after that?
After he gave up his throne in 1814, the other European powers sent him to a small island called Elba. It is in the Mediterranean Sea. But Napoleon did not stay there long. In 1815, he escaped and returned to France. Soldiers who saw him on the road put down their weapons and joined him. He was back in power within days.
That is amazing. People still wanted to follow him?
Many soldiers were deeply loyal to him. But the rest of Europe was not going to let him stay in power. Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia quickly gathered their armies. The final battle came very quickly.
That was Waterloo?
Yes, the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815. Napoleon fought against the British army led by the Duke of Wellington. The battle was very close for a long time. But late in the day, the Prussian army arrived and attacked Napoleon from the side. His army collapsed. It was his final defeat.
And this time there was no escape.
This time, the European powers made sure of that. They sent him to St. Helena. St. Helena is a very small and very remote island in the South Atlantic Ocean. It is thousands of kilometers from Europe. Napoleon lived there until he died in 1821.
That sounds like a very lonely end.
It was. But even from that distant island, Napoleon worked on his legacy. He spent his final years writing and talking about his life. He wanted to control how history remembered him. He said he was a man of the people, a defender of the revolution, a builder of modern law.
Do you think that was true?
There is truth in it, but also contradiction. He brought modern laws and ended feudal privileges, but he also made himself an emperor and put his family on the thrones of Europe. He spoke of freedom, but also controlled the press and limited political opposition. He was a very complex man.
So what did the rest of Europe do after he was gone?
The major powers of Europe met in Vienna in 1814 and 1815. This meeting is called the Congress of Vienna. The leaders wanted to restore the old order. They wanted to put kings back on their thrones and stop the spread of revolutionary ideas. This system is called the Vienna Settlement or the Concert of Europe.
Did it work?
For a while, yes. The major powers tried to suppress liberalism and nationalism, but they could not stop the ideas. The ideas were already inside people's minds. Napoleon had opened a door that could not be closed again.
What happened because of those ideas?
In 1848, revolutions broke out all across Europe. In France, Austria, Prussia, Italy, and Hungary, ordinary people rose up demanding freedom, constitutions, and national rights. These revolutions were not all successful right away, but they showed that the ideas Napoleon had spread were still very much alive.
And what about Italy and Germany?
Italy was divided into many small states for a long time. But Italian people started to feel that they were one nation with one language and one culture. This feeling grew throughout the 19th century. By 1871, Italy became a united country. Germany also became a united nation in 1871. Both of these unifications were driven by nationalism, the same nationalism that Napoleon had helped awaken.
So even though Napoleon lost, his ideas kept moving forward.
That is the great paradox of Napoleon. He was defeated on the battlefield, but the world he helped create kept growing after him. Modern legal systems, the idea of equal rights under the law, the feeling that a nation of people has the right to govern itself, these did not disappear when he died on St. Helena.
It is like he planted seeds everywhere he went.
That is a very good way to put it. Some of those seeds grew slowly. Some grew painfully through revolutions and wars. But they grew. And when we look at the map of modern Europe today, with its independent nations and its legal systems and its ideas of human rights, we can see Napoleon's shadow in many places.
Even in places he never conquered?
Yes, his ideas traveled farther than his armies ever did. Latin American independence movements were inspired by the same revolutionary ideas. Legal systems in Quebec, Louisiana, and many other places are still based on the Napoleonic Code. His influence crossed oceans.
So he is one of the most important figures in modern history.
Without a doubt. You do not have to admire him to recognize that. He reshaped the world in ways that are still with us today. So let us look back at everything we have talked about. Napoleon rose from a small island to become the most powerful man in Europe. He carried the ideas of the French Revolution across the continent. He gave people new laws, new rights, and a new way of thinking about what a nation could be.
But those same ideas became the reason people fought against him. Nationalism, the idea he helped spread, turned into a force that worked against his empire.
And after his fall, the leaders of Europe tried to go back to the old world. But they could not. The ideas were already free. They kept growing through the 19th century and beyond.
So his story is not just about one man and his wars. It is about how ideas can change the world.
Exactly. Wars end. Empires fall. But ideas, once they are in the minds of people, are very hard to stop. Napoleon understood that, and history proved him right. Thank you for watching, and we hope this story has given you something to think about.
Thank you. See you next time.